our session, Bheegi Lakeerein, Rita Jhunjhunwala ji in conversation with Dr. Meera Das and Maninder Kalra. Rita Jhunjhunwala ji, I cannot see you there. Volunteers. I cannot control it, otherwise breathing issues. Pure art knows no boundaries, and this art show merges the lines, allowing me to bring two of my realms of expression together. Shares the artist, Rita Jhunjhunwala ji. In this session, Rita ji presents a beautiful confluence of poetry and paintings in her solo exhibition, Bheegi Lakeerein. Born in Kolkata, India, Rita ji graduated from Calcutta University in 1977. She underwent extensive training under eminent national artists and art professors like Indira Dugar, Ashish Mitra, Bimal Dasgupta, and many more. She has been an active participant of various exhibitions and festivals throughout the globe. In 1969, she received the Soviet Land Nehru Award for painting by the President of India. And in 1985, she received a medal in the 8th Grand Premio International di Pittura, Rome, Italy. We are delighted to have you with us, ma'am. In conversation with Rita ji, we have our first discussant, Dr. Meera Das. A former member of NMA, she is an art historian, conservation architect with specialization in matters of cultural policies. She is a writer and has deep interest in history and archaeology of towns of India, both historical and current. Joining them, we have our second discussant, Mrs. Maninder Kalra. She did her schooling from Dehradun and then moved to Delhi for her graduation in BCom Honours from Delhi University, followed by B.Ed from Central Institute of Education, Delhi University. With a keen interest in art, traveling, reading, and teaching, it won't be wrong to say that she was one of the most loved teachers in St. Joseph's Convent School, Bhopal. Since 1993 till date, she has been running an art gallery at home, showcasing Indian contemporary art with an objective to promote market art and to build up personal collection as well. We are thrilled to have you all with us. Now, I'd like to request our speakers to unfold the conversation.
I am very happy to welcome Rita ji, and it has been a great experience working on her artwork and curating the exhibition along with Mr. Huzur. And there is a catalogue of the exhibition which is there at the bookshop, in case you are interested in taking it or purchasing it. The entire exhibition is based on her poetry collection. She's a poet, and this poetry collection, I'll just mention that to you, it's called Bheegi Lakeerein, and that's also available at the bookshop. So I hope you, and I expect that you would take deep interest in that and just go and purchase it. Having put up an exhibition, I think, and due to lack of time, I think we would request Rita ji to read some of her poems, because we have seen what she's put up there, we have read her poem, but we have not heard her recite. So with that, I give the mic to her and request her to pick and choose in what she's going to read and recite. So any particular mood or poem or anything that I want? So one is that I would, in her visual art, she's talked about landscape, she talks about urban landscapes and her own loneliness in these various situations. So maybe, but one of the most difficult part was how she deals with emotions in a major way, and she represents it in her artwork. But she is also painting Panch Tattva, and I was intrigued as to how she converts the Panch Tattva into something abstract. And she has a poem for that, so I would maybe request her to read the Panch Tattva thing first, before she goes on to what she chooses, and then we can ask our discussant to pose some questions. Thank you. So I have in my exhibition about 10 paintings on Panchatattva, I mean 2 sets, because Panchatattva is, as you all know, I think Prithvi, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal. So this is a small poem. Prithvi, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Jal, आदि से अंत तक अडिग अचल, ऊर्जा, तरलता, ताप, शक्ति प्रकांड, जीव जंतु प्राणी समस्त ब्रह्मांड, पंच तत्व पंच महाभूत समूल, सृष्टि का बीज समष्टि का मूल, आत्मा का वाहक शाश्वतता में आसीन, पंच तत्व का शरीर पंच तत्व में विलीन। हमारा शरीर भी इन 5 ही तत्वों से बना है, और जब हम चले जाते हैं तभी भी ये 5 तत्व ही रहते हैं धरती पर। आप, I mean, this is all existence, और आपके बाकी poems में भी existential है. How do you, even your artwork is all existential. Please continue. Okay, so most of my poems are born out of excessive emotions. Like जब भी मुझे कुछ बहुत दुख होता है, या बहुत चिंता होती है, या बहुत खुशी होती है, तब स्वतः ही मैं पोएम लिखना चाहती हूँ, और वो चाहे आधी रात को हो चाहे जो, वो खुद ब खुद मुझे लिखना पड़ता है टू गेट माई सेल्फ बैक टू नॉर्मल। तो सारी पोएम्स का बैकग्राउंड वही है। मैं आपको एक आध पोएम अपनी बताती हूँ। एहसासों का पोथा जब सांसों पर भारी हो गया, चंद पन्नों को मैंने हवा में बिखेर दिया। कटी पतंग की तरह वे पेड़ों पर लटक गए, बीच राह में बिजली के तारों में अटक गए। पैरों तले आ खुद ब खुद कुचल गए, मगर जो ज़िद्दी थे हाथों में मचल गए। नए पुराने जज्बातों को मजबूरन जगा गए, हाथों में रंग और स्याही थमा गए। This is the reason why I have done this show. And sometimes we are humbled by some experiences which are given to us by nature, by things surrounding us, by our day-to-day experience, and this poem is born out of that kind of an experience. आहिस्ता आहिस्ता दोपहरी ढल रही थी, मेरी परछाई लंबी लंबी पड़ रही थी, कदम चहक रहे थे, ख्याल बहक रहे थे, मेरी छाप ज़मीं पर कितनी गहरी थी, धूप भी कुछ ठिठक कर ठहरी थी, अकस्मात ही धूप पिघली, अंधेरा छा गया, पल भर में मेरी परछाई को मिटा गया, ढूंढा बहुत, उसका नामो निशान नहीं था, समझ गई मैं प्रकृति का विधान यही था, वो सिमटी परछाई अंधेरे की व्यापकता में समा गई, खुद को मिटाकर मुझे यूं जीना सिखा गई. Then I have written a lot of very small 4-liners, जो ज़रा ज़रा से हमें एहसास होते हैं, वो शायद आपको भी रोज़ाना होते होंगे. ओके. परेशान थी मैं, पूछा फलक से, क्या अपने एहसासों को भुलाया जा सकता है? फलक ने कहा, पहले मुझे बता, क्या बेहद को हद में समाया जा सकता है? कई बार हम परेशान होते हैं तो रात में नींद नहीं आती है, ये शायद आपके साथ भी हुआ हो. तो वो चिंताएं हमें लगता है कभी आशा भी होती है, कभी निराशा भी होती है. तो ये एक निराशा भरी पोयम है. सपने, इस पोयम का शीर्षक है सपने. सपने अंधेरी रातों के, बेसिर पैर की बातों के, कभी पाँव अटक जाएं, कभी रास्ते भटक जाएं, न खत्म होने वाली बरसात, उजाला न होने वाली काली रात, कभी सीने पर पत्थरों का भार, आगे न बढ़ने वाला लम्हा लाचार, लिखना चाहें तो हाथ बेजान, बोलना चाहें तो मूक जुबान, कभी बेवजह ही मन परेशान, कभी सताए कोई डर अनजान, सोचा सुबह होगी, ताज़े सूरज के सुनहरे पानी से ये सपने धुल जाएंगे, कुछ यादों से परे, कुछ रोशनी में घुल जाएंगे. हकीकत मगर कुछ और थी, ये तो खुली आँखों के सपने थे, दिन और रात से परे, हर मौसम में हरे, सांसों की तरह अब ये अपने थे. अभी थोड़ी देर पहले किसी को इनकी नए सूरज की कविता बहुत पसंद आई थी और उन्होंने ताज़े सूरज की कविता बहुत पसंद आई थी और उन्होंने कहा था, वो राइटर थे जो अभी देखने आए थे, और उनका कहना था कि हमको आपकी कविता देख के इतनी जेलसी हुई कि हमने क्यों नहीं सोचा और हमने क्यों नहीं लिखा. तो ताज़े सूरज को पढ़ना चाहेंगे, आप बोलना चाहेंगे? तो अभी बोल दिया. अच्छा, ताज़े सूरज पे. कुछ शुक्ला जी आप पूछना चाहेंगे? मैं पहले इनको देती हूँ.
I have a few questions for you which would possibly interest the entire audience. So I begin with the first one, which will possibly take us back to Rita ji's childhood days. What, Rita ji, were the influences in your childhood that made you grow towards painting and poetry? It would be very interesting to know.
Okay, painting आई थिंक द मोमेंट मैंने होश संभाला, मुझे तब से याद है कि मैं पेंटिंग करती हूँ. लाइक इट वॉज, आई थिंक, गॉड गिवन टू मी द इंटरेस्ट फॉर पेंटिंग. एंड शुरू से डूडल करना या ऑन द स्पॉट पेंटिंग कॉम्पिटिशन्स होते थे. आई एम फ्रॉम कोलकाता. वहाँ बहुत फेयर्स में होते थे, तो वहाँ जा के करना. फिर मुझे प्राइज़ मिलती थी, तो पेरेंट्स को भी लगा कि मुझे इंटरेस्ट है. ऐसे करके मैंने सीखा. और टीचर्स भी मेरे स्कूल की, उनको भी लगता था कि मुझ में कुछ है, कुछ इंटरेस्ट है, तो उन्होंने भी बढ़ावा दिया. और मैं जब 13 साल की थी, तो मुझे जब सोवियत लैंड नेहरू अवार्ड मिला, उससे सबों को पता चल गया. तो लोग पूछते थे कि अब आप क्या कर रहे हो, अब आप ले रहे हो. तो मैं भी अपने आप को बहुत सीरियसली लेने लगी. तो पेंटिंग तो, और जितना करते जाओ, जितना इतना थेरेप्यूटिक होता है जो आप करते हैं, आपको पता ही होगा कि उसमें जब घुस जाओ तो उससे निकलना तो मुश्किल है. और एज़ फॉर पोएम, मुझे नहीं पता, पर जब भी, आज के दिन भी, जब मुझे कोई भी चीज़ का दुख होता है या कोई भी इमोशन सताता है, तो मुझे लगता है कि मैं कुछ लाइंस लिख लूँ तो मैं हल्की हो जाऊंगी, मैं वापस नॉर्मल हो जाऊंगी. सो दैट इज़ द रीज़न बिहाइंड इट.
The other thing that was on my mind was that in each painting of yours, because I went and saw your exhibition very closely, I found your abstract work very, very beautiful, very colorful. There's a lot of water, air tattvas that you said. But I also found a little bit of figurative work, which I was wondering, does it have anything to do with your presence in the painting, or does it indicate towards somebody else? But there are figures which are very interesting.
You're right. Most of my paintings, or I would say some of my paintings, have this figure, but if you notice, it's always in silhouette, not very clear. So basically, yes, those paintings are born out of my thoughts. So you could say I identify with those figures. But I think the emotions are so basic and universal that most of the people would, especially women, would identify with them. So you can say it's for the whole of women lot.
There are a lot of emotions that are reflected in your paintings. You're a very reflective person, I feel. But which is that main emotion that drives you towards creativity? I can see that you write very often at night, because that's when thoughts come to you. But when you paint, what takes you towards creativity? What emotion?
Yes, that's a very relevant question. So I can safely say that when I'm very, very happy, mostly I'm too busy enjoying that happiness to write. So mostly when I'm very worried or very sad, and also it's relative, like some of the poems are very old, like I would say 30, 40 years old. That time, what you wear when you are young, you are full of self, and even a little bit which goes against you takes a huge big dimension. But when I think of it now, when I read it, and when I recall the situation which had made me write like this, I can laugh at it also. But yes, it is mostly driven by extreme sadness or with a heavy heart. That's true.
Sure.
So one of the things that is there in her painting is loneliness. And you know, if you look at a painting, you will find from below, it has to be read from below to the top. And lower level is where she's positioned, and top is where she is, her dream area. That is where she would like to be. So it's a dreamy at one level. It is also, covers time. So it is both time and space that she encapsulates in her painting, where she's locating, where she would like to be, what is the destination, और इतना time और space को encapsulate करना in a nutshell. I think her painting depicts it very beautifully, and thank you for showing it to us. And of course, I mean, I know by talking to her that there have been a huge support in her life, in her childhood, how her school kind of shaped her, later on how her in-laws were kind of supporting her, and how everybody was encouraging her. But एक महिलाओं को एक इतना passion के साथ follow करना अपना, इतने दौरान उसको, for such a long duration, for them to follow the passion may not be the easiest, because you don't even have the silence to really reflect on your own emotions. And so that is also something very rare, but we also find that it is a point of view. It comes from the depth of a woman's heart. So a lot of emotions, like you mentioned, are, women feel it. And they identify with what you are doing. In any particular person you would like to express your gratitude towards, and in your development of your art, your poetry, and all that. So I would like you to talk about that person.
Thanks. I think I can thank God that in my life I have got people who have always supported me, and even if not supported, nobody has been against it. Rest depends on you, how much time you can take out and things like that. And if you are passionate about something, you do manage to do things. But I would like to thank my grandmother for instilling fantastic values in me and for making me work very, very hard. Then my teacher, Indra Dugad, who used to say that if you want to be a painter, then no matter, even if it's your board exam, final exams, you have to paint every day. Even if you have to paint a bottle in front of you, you want to make one sketch for 5 minutes, but you have to, date-wise, you have to do every single day. And that is what I have done, and that is what has kept me going. Secondly, after my marriage, I would like to thank my father-in-law, who took a keen interest, and he, against all circumstances also, I would say, he supported me to be very creative and to pursue my hobby. So I would like to thank him also.
May I just ask you one question about the medium and the textures that you use in your paintings? There are a large variety of materials that I see when I look at your paintings, and it makes it very interesting because there's sand and there's fabric and there's a whole lot of stuff, but I'd love you to name what exactly it is that you use. The mediums, there's one layer over the other, and we'd like to get to the bottom of it.
Yes, it's true. I have used, especially for this exhibition, I have used a lot of textures like sand and gold foil and fabric, and suddenly I see something and I feel, oh, this would make a lovely background or something, and I try to use that. It's spontaneous at times, but also it depends. Like if I want to give a bright feeling, I would use a gold foil instead of a sun or something. And if I like to give it an ethereal kind of a feel, then sometimes I use gauze or some very light fabric. Some texture like that. If I want to say something about darkness, then I would give a coarse material, like some stiff paper, or I crumple paper together and put it, or some dried grass and all. So it depends on the mood of the painting and how you use it. But it's very interesting for me also to experiment with all those kind of things. Thank you.
One last question that I'd like to ask you. Does your art or poetry satisfy that inner thirst that I see within you to reach a position of tranquility? Is it art that satisfies that thirst? Is it poetry? Or is it a bit of both?
Well, poetry is something, as I said, I do from time to time. I'm not so prolific about it, and I do it sometimes when I'm very emotional or something. So that is only occasional. But painting is like my profession, and I do it on a daily basis, and it is my safe space. It is, believe me, it's therapeutic. No matter what I'm undergoing, the worst of things, while I'm painting, though that much of time is like it holds still. I forget everything. And that, I think many of you here who write and paint, who are in the field of art or sing, they would recognize that feeling.
I agree with you because I have seen so many artists and so much beautiful art. It really is something that, a passion that comes from within. So what you're saying about it being therapeutic, of course, I'm sure it is, and wonderful. I must say before anything else that when I looked at her paintings in the exhibition here, I would encourage everybody to please go and take a look because it's absolutely beautiful. And the poetry which is on the side of each painting relates so beautifully. It's interwoven with the painting. And there are many things in the painting when she talks about water. You actually can see that space of water which you have seen. It doesn't have to be the picture that she's seen. So it's a kind of universal picture that she has put in front of you. When she talks about fire, it would probably be the fire that all of us have seen sometime in our lives. Maybe we've even seen it within us. So it's a very universal sort of picture that she puts out. So I really would encourage everybody to go take a look. It's beautiful.
With your permission, I would like people to kind of pose question. I'll open it to the house. If others have any question to ask.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am here. My name is Madhurima Rajpal and I am a journalist in Haribhumi newspaper. I have seen your painting exhibition. It is so nice, so pretty. So ma'am, my question is this, ki, with each and every artwork of yours, there is a poetry. तो पहले आपके जहन में एक पेंटिंग बनाने का ख्याल आता है कि उस कविता का आप किस तरह से पहले रंगों को अपनी कलम में डालती हैं कि कलम को फिर रंगों में और कैनवास पर उकेरती हैं?
Yes, I have got a very specific answer for that. Actually, paintings, मेरी जो poems हैं वो मैंने ये जो poems हैं ये कोई 30 साल पुरानी भी हो सकती है, 40 साल, 20 साल, and तो वो तो मैंने लिख लिया था. और during COVID मैंने एक painting, एक poem illustrate की. That was a portrait about my grandmother. And then I did some other one and I thought, why not make a series of this and it will be interesting. It was challenging because most of the poems are abstract in nature. They are depicting some kind of an emotion which is difficult to capture on canvas, but it was very interesting and challenging for me. So I enjoyed doing this whole thing. So the paintings came later, yes.
I have seen lots of your painting. Is there any painting that is related to feminism or woman empowerment? Or you are thinking about it that in future you will make a painting that is related to woman empowerment?
Not really. Here I have depicted the emotions that women feel and that will resonate with all women, I think. But having said that, women empowerment is something which I think all of us women would want. And as for comparison, I always feel that we women are, excuse me, the men, but we are better. I never compare because I always feel we can multitask, we can do so many things, and I feel we are better. So I never compare.
Thank you, ma'am.
Women are certainly very, very strong. I agree over there with Rita ji. There's a lot of strength in women. And I heard a lot of us women giving a big hand to Rita ji when she expressed her opinion. Yes.
मेरा एक सवाल तो मधुरिमा ने पूछ लिया, जो मैं रचना प्रक्रिया आपकी जानना चाहता था, लेकिन एक बात और मैं आपसे बड़ा निहायत व्यक्तिगत सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ
जी।
कि जैसा मीरा जी ने भी इंगित किया था कि आपकी जो पेंटिंग्स में और कविताओं में भी एक एकाकीपन कई बार झलकता है, लोनलीनेस, जैसे कि आपने लिखा है कि सन्नाटे में साज बजा लिया
जी।
और ये सब, जबकि आप इतनी बड़ी दुनिया में रहती हैं और इतनी मतलब जिसको कहते हैं आप बहुत ही आधुनिकतम दुनिया में आप रहती हैं, उसके बाद ये एकाकीपन कैसे?
कई बार आप बहुत लोगों से सराउंडेड हो सकते हैं, लेकिन अपने जहन में आप फिर भी अकेले हैं। लेकिन मुझे माने भगवान की दया से बहुत कुछ मिला है, लेकिन साथ में मुझे बहुत पीड़ाएं भी मिली हैं, बहुत व्यक्तिगत कष्ट भी मिले हैं। ऐसी चीज़ें मेरे जीवन में, ऐसे इंसिडेंट्स हुए हैं जिसने मुझे बहुत तोड़ा है। तो उस समय की ही ये कविताएं ज़्यादा हैं।
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, here backside. मैम जैसे आप पेंटिंग्स करती हैं, आप एब्स्ट्रैक्ट आर्ट करती हैं, तो मैम उसके हिसाब से कलर थ्योरी, जैसे हर रंग की एक पहचान होती है, जैसे हैप्पीनेस का एक कलर है, सैडनेस का एक कलर है, तो उसका कितनी इम्पोर्टेंस होती है आपकी पेंटिंग में, और आप मतलब किस तरीके से उसको प्रेजेंट करती हैं?
तो आप सही कह रहे हैं, रंग तो हैं। अगर अब बहुत दुख भरी पोयम है, उसमें मैं नेचुरली उसमें लाल या पीला रंग नहीं यूज़ करूँगी, क्योंकि वो थोड़ा खुशहाली जताते हैं। वो ऑटोमेटिकली फिर मुझे ब्लूज़ या ब्राउन्स या ब्लैक या उस टाइप में ले जाता है, ग्रेज। वो अपने आप ही वैसा चयन हो जाता है। जब आप उस मूड को परखते हैं, देखते हैं, तो अपने आप ही रंग आपके पास आते हैं।
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question. I'm Varcheswa Dubey from Excellence. मैम मैंने आपकी काफ़ी सारी पंक्तियाँ पढ़ी, और एक आपके स्टार्टिंग में ही राइट हैंड साइड पर जो पहली आपकी एक कविता लगी हुई थी कि मैंने अपनी वृत्तियों को बदला है और अपने आराध्य के उनको हवाले करा है, ऐसा कुछ।
सॉरी, क्या था?
मैम अपनी वृत्तियों को बदल कर
हाँ,
अपने आराध्य के हवाले करते हुए, और कुछ और पंक्तियाँ जैसे मैं चला जाऊँ तो उसमें हमारी जो भावनाएं होती हैं, द एक्सेसिव अमाउंट ऑफ फीलिंग्स दैट वी हैव इन आवरसेल्व्स। तो मैम, द पोम दैट वाज देयर एंड व्हिच वर रिटन ऑन द अदर साइड, वाज इट योर शिफ्ट फ्रॉम द द नीड फॉर एक्सेसिव फीलिंग्स से हटकर कंटेंटमेंट की तरफ? तो वो जो पोइट्री थी आपकी जो मैंने इधर पढ़ी, तो वाज इट अ शिफ्ट दैट फ्रॉम रेस्टलेसनेस टू कंटेंटमेंट?
See, as I told you, it's been written over 4 decades. So some are at a place where I was content and happy. Sometimes I wrote when I was very disturbed. So yes, you'll get all those moods. And this particular poem you're talking about, I think अपनी वृत्तियों को परिवर्तित कर. So that was also because it was incited by an experience which was very devastating for me, and then I wrote that poem, which means that we have done all good, but somewhere there's a crack and we don't know, and we get the return. So it depends on the kind of mood.
आप ये अपनी पेंटिंग्स और पोएम्स जब दोबारा पढ़ती हूँ, तो कैन यू रिकैप्चर द टाइम व्हेन यू कुड हैव डन दैट, और डज इट इम्पैक्ट, हाउ डज इट इम्पैक्ट यू? डू यू रीलिव इट?
Yes, even if I read something which I wrote like say 30 years back or something, I know exactly when I wrote it and what triggered it on. But sometimes when I see that point, and it has lost the relevance now, because now being more matured, I feel that didn't call for so much of grief. I mean, this happens with everybody. So that is a point. Yeah, it's called maturity or whatever. Like now the things which will move me would be more intense rather than a little fight with your husband or something like that.
क्योंकि अक्सर सब लोग जो हैं वो अपने चाइल्डहुड की तरफ देखें या यूथ की तरफ देखें, after growing up then you find them very foolish and you would several times you would like to disassociate yourself and say I had nothing to do with that, or how foolish was I at that time. And if people have not experienced foolishness in their childhood, then I think they have not gone through life. I mean, that was the reason why I was asking you.
Right, you're right.
Anybody else would like to ask her a question? Because, okay. Then we will ask her to read some poems before we end it.
Hello ma'am, my name is Prishta, and I really wanted to ask you that as a young aspiring writer, have you ever gone through a creative block, or that ghost of perfectionism does it ever troubles you, and if it has, then how do you deal with it as a
Sorry,
poet?
I couldn't understand the beginning. I couldn't hear the beginning of the question.
So, as a young aspiring writer, and you being an artist yourself and a poet, has the creative block, has it ever happened to you? And if it has, then how do you deal with it? Or the ghost of perfectionism, that, you know, whether your writing or your painting should be perfect, or it is not perfect, what you thought of and what you've created. Has this ever troubled you? And if it has, then how do you deal with it?
Yes, it happens very often. But you know, I think the way to break it is just keep doing it. Sometimes, like, so many people ask me that, do you paint according to moods, when you feel the mood? But I always say that I don't have the time for that, you know, to be moody. So maybe if I'm in the mood, it comes fast like this. But if I'm not in the mood, it will come. Once I start painting, maybe it will take a while, 1 hour before I set in, before my mood, but it comes for sure. So keep doing it. And yes, many things, when you look back, I look at a painting, I said, how could I do this? I mean, this needs, but that is called evolution, you know, as you do more and more. And you are never perfect. You know, even now I know I have to achieve a lot and I have to go miles before I sleep. So you are never perfect.
May I ask one? While you were talking, it just came to my mind that you have written things, some things which you have written when you're going through a period of hurt and depression. When you read those poems again, or you see that painting again, does that come back, or have you healed?
No, it doesn't come back normally. Maybe that memory comes back, but it doesn't hurt me the same way. And I think taking it out in the form of a poem is a very good therapy for getting lighter.
We'll have one last question.
Madam, I am just curious to know how you coordinate between your painting and poems. Because definitely they are created at different times. So how easy or difficult for you to coordinate between them? Both of them goes with the same ideas.
So, see, because I have studied painting, and that is my forte. So the poem, if I see it, it does need a bit of thinking, but it is a challenge. But I enjoy that challenge, and it's easy. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it comes naturally to paint that emotion. And especially when I've undergone that emotion, I've felt that emotion. And also the painting is part of the feeling. So I think somewhere it's easier for me.
I think we can now listen to her poem, if she can recite 2 poems at least before we finish the session.
That would be very nice. And I would like to say just a line for Rita after listening to all that she has to say, which has been so beautifully expressed, that may all the stars you reach for be within your grasp.
This is also, now that I've talked, this is one of the experiences that I had, one of grief, after which I wrote, बहुत दूर तक फैल गई थी, बात तो एक पल की थी, समेटना चाहा भी था, कुछ गांठों में उलझ गई थी, काश उस सीलन भरे वक्त को धूप लग पाती, या ढेरों लम्हों के सागर में उस बूंद को भुला पाती। आज भी वह पल उसी सख्ती से दस्तक देता है, जिंदगी की किताब से कुछ अहम पन्ने फाड़ देता है। So this is to answer your question that sometimes you do relive those moments.
That was very beautiful. Just the right words for the right situation. Very nice.
I don't know whether we have time or not, because we were told that the time is up. So, yes, please.
Thank you so much for such an insightful session. The fact that you use poetry to channel your emotions, it would be right to say that paper has proved to be more patient than people in your case. So, moving forward, I'd like to request Abhilash Khandekar ji, member of the Society of Culture and Environment, to please come forward and felicitate the author and the discussant with the memento as a symbol of love, respect, and gratitude. The memento, ladies and gentlemen, is also the mascot of Bhopal Literature and Art Festival 2024. It is a painting by senior most gone artist Ram Singh Uttarvedi ji. It reflects the evolution of life. Thank you so much. One of the volunteers, please assist the ladies. I'd like to inform the audience that the Bahirang Netflix presentation has been shifted here.